Welcome to Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petrolis, and we are super excited for today's guest. I was just talking to these guys before we hit record. This is an event that, Beyond is really proud to be a part of. I have a brother who's a police officer for the city of Everett. So I am very pro blue. And to have these guys on here today to explain what they do a little bit and pull back that curtain is going to be a lot of fun. These guys are part of the Brotherhood for the Fallen, the Boston chapter, and these guys do some amazing things for families or police officers who are killed on the line of duty, and what they do for their families and the travel and what they put together and the support that they give them during it, and especially the support that they give them after it. There's a lot of work that goes into this type of stuff. We have three gentlemen on here who have been a part of this for a long time and do all the behind the scenes stuff that people don't realize, at events like this. And when you have a gala that we're going to be a part of that's going to really celebrate this even more of what these guys do, there's a lot that goes into it. So we want to be able to chat with these guys today, and I'm very grateful for it. So without further ado, we have two travel coordinators here. We have Doug McGrath and Ducky Clark, and Leroy Fernandez, a board secretary and a former travel coordinator. Guys, welcome to Beyond Podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you
Yeah,
for having us.
yeah,
Yeah, thanks.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's my honor, as I said to you guys before. This is great. So I'm going to kind of jump in. I kind of have some questions for each of you guys here a little bit, or just some things I want to chat about that just makes me so interested about what it is that you guys do and for our audience to hear today. Dougie, I'm going to start with you. I was
Sure.
specifically told that you've been a part of this since the very early days. You first traveled with Pat and rode to Detroit in 2018 for Officer Glenn Dose's Jr.'s funeral. Talk about that experience, because I know that you were pretty much after that event, you were a part of that funeral, that you were pretty much hooked to kind of
Yeah.
supporting Pat in this cause and really a big part of you.
Yeah, so I attended the funeral as a member, not as a board member yet.
Yeah.
And this is back, I think, to 2017 or 18, I believe. Very overwhelming. And again, I didn't know what to expect. I had gone to other funerals of officers locally, Massachusetts, and this was, a little one we had to get on a plane for. So this is my first one I went away, and it was very overwhelming. We were treated unbelievably well. I was with officers from New York, Chicago, some of the other chapters. We were met by the command staff. We were sat with the command staff. We were introduced to the family. We met with the family. The father was a Detroit police officer, and we spent time with him and his wife, the slain officer's wife, and it was really overwhelming. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
as you said, I was hooked in a positive manner and overwhelmed by it, and definitely looking forward to being part of it at that point. And it was a great experience for a very tragic time, you know.
Yeah, and I can't imagine, and any of you can kind of jump in with this when I hear you say that, the emotional piece to it. I mean, being a part of something like that, I mean, it's somebody you don't know, but you do know
Right.
because you share so many similarities in your life and your cause and what you try to do. Talk about the emotional side, and anyone can jump in, or Doug, you can continue, whatever.
Sure, I can just finish up with Glenn.
Yeah.
So as again, his father was a Detroit police officer too, and to meet him and he just lost his son, and he to have him to be so well spoken, and I have children. I couldn't have done that at all. So just to meet with him and his wife, and he had a brand new baby. He had a 1-year-old baby. So like right out of the gate at my first funeral, I saw like the impact of a murdered police officer, and it was definitely profound for me. So
Yeah. Does anybody else want to jump in on understand the emotional aspect of it a little bit?
Yeah, like what my situation is, I'm new here. I'm like the new kid,
Okay.
here as far as these other two officers. But I went on mine in January this year, my first and only, and it was like Doug said, it was very eye opening. Like I didn't know that you know I've been on the job a long time. I never really followed the Brotherhood of the Fallen until Leroy asked me to be part of it, like a couple of years ago, and I finally got to be a part of it. And when I went on that trip to Houston, um, I didn't know it was going to be what it was going to be. Like like Doug said, I've been to a lot of funerals. We actually went to a funeral today for an officer for from the Boston Police, so I've been to a lot of them, but I've never been out of state at a funeral. And to like see how many officers from all over the country that actually respond to these things, and it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. So I was amazed by the about the outpour of it and how many people showed up.
Yeah, and I'll be brief. My first deployment, I believe, was to Los Angeles. It was for a California Highway Patrol officer who was shot and killed. And I just remember walking in the procession, and the California guys was like, "Boston's here," so they were just happy to see that
Yeah.
Boston would even show up on the other side of the country. So the work we do, definitely has an impact. And I'll never forget that Boston's here statement that California Highway Patrolman said made.
Yeah, I mean that's cool. I mean that's really cool to hear because obviously that's across the country and supporting, your brothers and what you guys do every day. That's just something cool to see to recognize that. You travel coordinators. I mean, talk about the work that goes into it. Like, how quickly does this happen? So obviously you get notification of something that happens, kind of put across your desk. How quickly is that then flipped between traveling and getting there and staying there? I mean, how does that process kind of work?
It's unfortunate as all three of us are now, Leroy's moved on to bigger things, but we call it, like, and I've been there for now a lot of years. It's the bad news link, right? So
Yeah.
it's never good news. We have a travel link on Signal with all the travel coordinators. So the only news is on there is this guy got shot, this person got stabbed, this person's hanging on, this person was on their last shift. So that part of it is apparent right away to us. That necessarily doesn't filter to everybody. So we kind of get the brunt of it, if you will, right from the beginning.
Right.
And then it's kind of like, did the officer from this department pass? So it might not be immediately, so you have to maybe wait, and that's another issue. But so just say if the officer is killed, we notify. Now Leroy was the one who would put that out as far as putting it out to the members to saying here's what the situation is. It's not necessarily the travel thing right away. It's the make awareness of the situation. We've had an officer killed in this location. It would be followed up once we have arrangements by the arrangements. They put it together with Pat and Leroy. They do a very good job as far as dates and times when you would travel, when you would come back, things like that, and that's put out to the masses. Hopefully, we get a response. Once we get a response, then myself, Ducky, we would do the flights, the cars, the hotels, and that's all coordinated with all the other chapters. So we stay at the same hotel. We do everything together. So that's the important part of it. We're with New York, we're with Fort Worth, Dallas, Chicago, all these other places, and we do this as a group. So we're not just going as two Boston police officers. We're going as a whole board, as a whole organization, the Brotherhood.
And it's amazing. And that all gets put together, fairly quick. Like you said, there's a process that goes into it, but that's flipped over probably within a few days, I'm guessing, between knowing everything
Yeah.
that's going on. I mean, is that what keeps you guys motivated? Because obviously this is a lot of work. And Leroy, you've been a part of this for a long time. And I know that your role was a travel coordinator, now to secretary. So you've been a part of this, kind of a lot of it too. What keeps you guys so motivated? Because, there it is a lot of work. People don't realize that what you're doing is amazing, but all amazing things behind the scenes is a lot of work. So what's that motivating factor for you that kind of keeps you really a part of this year after year?
Um, I'll say, you know, as a secretary, one of my least favorite things to do is get that message from Ducky or get that message from Doug or even Pat. Sometimes he'll chime in and send me the message that a police officer was killed somewhere in the country. And being a police officer myself, you never want to receive that notification because, the goal is that everyone who wears the uniform, they go home at the end of their tour of duty. And just knowing that, unfortunately, when this does happen, the work that the Brotherhood for the Fallen does to make sure these families know that their family, that their loved one is not forgotten, that's what keeps me going.
Yeah. And is anybody want to add on to that at all as far as that goes? What keeps you motivated? What keeps you kind of going with this?
Well, just like what Leroy said, we're all police officers, and at any time, one of us could be on that notification that Doug was talking about and that signal. And I want my family to know that um, if something was to happen to me, I know not just the Boston police, but I know like police from all over the country are going to come in and they're going to, give them some love, give them some, saying that we respect what he did, and we're glad that he did what he did, and we're here to help you guys. So I'm all about just like, I know we're Boston police, but just like I said, when I went to Houston to see all the different patches, and it was just all of us coming together, I was very like it was eye opening experience for me, and that's why as soon as I got back, I knew that I was gonna be like, I mean, I'm in the Brotherhood of the Fallen, but I knew I was gonna really be active in the organization. So that's my motivation.
And what's great is, and what I noticed with that, and I'm sorry, Dougie, did you want to add to that? I didn't mean to cut you off if you were going to say
No,
something.
no, no. Just reiterate what those guys said. Absolutely, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So I noticed a lot over the last few years, or at least being a part of this event in the small way that we are, that it's kind of growing in Massachusetts. I'm noting a lot more cities and towns are kind of becoming a part of the Brotherhood. How does that kind of work? Do you go to different cities and towns and kind of explain what you do and what your mission is, and how does that kind of work? I'm always so interested in that.
So yeah, it's a fairly new thing. We just started reaching out to other departments. I know I was talking to Ducky last week, and Ducky's been talking to guys in Chelsea, and he's got buddies over there, and everybody's got a buddy who's a cop in another town. And the end goal is to have as many members as possible all across the state, because it's the mission remains the same. We want to send two police officers to a funeral of a police officer that was murdered in the line of duty. And I know Ducky and Doug will agree. It's new, but we're working on it, and we plan on venturing out to different departments and going down there and speaking at roll calls and events and all those things.
Yeah, I mean the growth of this is great. I mean, I wouldn't know why, forces wouldn't want to be a part of this. I think this is something that, the more police officers involved, the bigger it becomes, the better it becomes, and it's a great thing. Um,
I think on that, can I add one thing on
yeah,
that? Just
please, please.
because I don't want to say I had an opposite approach because I was misinformed myself, and I hand up when we started this, and I have Boston bias, right? I'm a Boston guy. I wanted to make it a Boston. It was a Boston organization. I wanted to keep it as a Boston organization. Short-sighted on my thing, 100% hand up. And then, as Leroy said, as we started expanding, I think one of the ways we did expand, like Officer Chestnut from Weymouth was killed.
Mhm.
We did a lot for that service. And then we spoke with the Weymouth police afterwards, and they like, wow, you guys had guys come from all these places and stuff, so they signed up. So sometimes there's other ways. There's obviously it would be like nice to be a friend and just get on, opposed to a tragedy with a death. But there is things. So yeah, as Leroy said, our goal is expansion, and we want to have departments that are supportive of us and members that are supportive of this. So we're definitely looking to expand. And as you said, we are getting bigger, and that's purposeful. So
Yeah, and I think that's great. I mean, and I know it's different in state versus out of state, but and you guys have alluded to it just traveling to other funerals and meeting other departments. Like the bond between the different chapters. Like how would you describe that like relationship and bond with other chapters that are across the country as far as you guys go?
Well, I'll say I've only been on one trip, and
Mhm.
I was with my partner, and we met all those guys down at the lobby of the hotel. We was on our way to the wake, and we're all cops. So cops are cops. This is a big giant fraternity, male, female, race. It doesn't. None of that stuff matters. It's a fraternity of police officers. And by the time we shook hands and said hello, said our names, we were all friends. By the time we got to that church, everybody, nobody like I didn't hang around with my partner the whole time. We all intermingled. That's just the fraternity that we're in.
Does anyone want to add to that at
yeah, it's
all?
immediate, like Ducky just said. It's immediate. It's you meet in that lobby, and 10 seconds later you're making fun of someone. Like it's like you've known them for 20 years, right? And a Boston guys do that maybe more than we should, but
Yeah.
it's like Duck said, it's a fraternity that and the thing is that you're there purposely for an event, right? So and we call it, gallows humor. You'll see it homicides, and all of us have been to a lot of them. Unfortunately, you may see on Fox 25 cops laughing at homicide. There's nothing funny about it, but it's to break the tension, right? You have to do something. We're there for a funeral of an officer we never met who was murdered. Sometimes just a little brevity and just talking is meaningful. You know what I mean? And getting to know
Yeah.
someone. But as far as that, like I've been on for a while, luckily enough, and I'm actually very good friends with the guys from other states. I routinely talk to guys from Dallas, from New York, from Fort Worth. Great friends and guys that who seriously I consider my friends, not just people I've met along the way. So it's definitely meaningful.
Yeah. And I think for you guys, like, yeah, because I'm sure it puts it in perspective sometimes when you mention who you're there for, and then you get to learn about them and know who they are a little bit more and what they left behind and their family and their loved ones. And it probably at times like makes you think a little bit like, man, like this is dangerous. At any point, it could be me or somebody I know on the line. So that's not easy. But like I said, like you guys said, I think that's a great thing that there is such a bond and such a like, friendship between the different chapters because you guys all understand at the end of the day what the bigger picture is. Um, if I had to ask you guys, like, what's your message for listeners here, especially maybe those outside law enforcement a little bit, to take away from what the Brotherhood for the Fallen really stands for?
Well, I would say like for me, and like I said, I'm the new Jack here, so I would say for me, like just coming in, I think we stand for like just being humans. We're just guys and ladies that happen to be police officers, and we're all just trying to do the right thing for our families. And during the course of some of us, unfortunately, some of us are going to be killed in the line of duty. And so this organization, as far as I'm concerned, is it's a human thing. Like it's like I like to always bring it back to we're just humans trying to take care of other humans. And I think the Brotherhood does a great job. Thank God for Pat for putting this together and getting all of us to like link into this because I think it's one of the best organizations that we have in the Boston Police Department.
Yeah, and like Ducky said, no one calls 911 to invite us to a cookout, to invite us to the parties, to the baby shower. If someone picks up the phone to call 911, they're having a bad day. Could be one of the worst days of their life. And we don't know those people. We're strangers and we have a job to do. So we come in, we do our jobs. But at the end of the day, we're humans. I have family. Doug has family. Ducky has family. Everyone has a family. And we want to go home to our families. And this Brotherhood for the Fallen organization does such a good job of unfortunately, when these police officers are killed, we do such a good job of making sure the families understand that we are here for them.
I mean, you guys mentioned Pat a few different times, Pat Monroe. We'll talk about him for a second. I've known Pat a pretty long time. He was the very nice senior on the football team when I was a very small, geeky freshman. And I remember that. And I even talked about that in my opening speech last year there because that's the type of guy he is. And as long as I've known him, it's always giving back and always about other people and not necessarily himself. And that's very rare, I think, a lot of times with people. He's a big part of this. You guys, obviously, his motivation to it, and some of his first time going somewhere was with him. And talk about Pat a little bit and how passionate he is about this and what he kind of has helped the Brotherhood kind of take those next steps with.
I think he's very important and I'm very good friends with him. So he's a this is a rare opportunity for me to say how great of a guy he is because I don't often say that to him his face. But he really did put an insane amount of effort into this. And though I wasn't in from the inception, I was there from the inception of the idea. And sometimes I'm a negative person, right? Police generally are. I told him because the Boston Police Department is a selfish police department, this wouldn't work, right? Completely wrong, thank God. But Pat just kept pushing, right? And it was small at first, and he kept just was relentless with it, and he went talked to everybody who would listen about it, anybody, any command staff, any person, and he just kept being relentless. And now it shows its growth. We're currently the biggest organization in the Boston Police Department, and that's probably 99.9% Pat. So I do give him accolades, but don't put that on the podcast, please.
I'll say Pat's like that annoying big brother. He calls me now more than ever since I stepped into the new secretary role. He calls me probably 2 times, 3 times a day. And he does a lot of work behind the scenes, which is probably why he chose not to be on this podcast because he doesn't want to hear himself talk. You can delete that part too. But he does a lot of work behind the scenes, and it doesn't go unnoticed by the board members. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I knew that'd be a good question to ask there about Pat. I know he puts a lot of work into it. I remember, God, I got there like 2 hours early last year for the gala, which we'll talk about in a minute. And just to see like him talking to waitresses and people setting things up, I'm like, God, like is he gonna be setting the tables up and chairs soon himself? Like I just felt like, man, he's so into that. And I love as passionate I am about what I do it's easy to root for people who are passionate about doing things, specifically doing things for people that their families who need it, or people who were doing something honorable. And I think that that's what's a great thing about Pat Monroe is. But we'll kind of end this with a little bit of kind of some fun here. We'll do a little bit of like rapid fire type round. I'm just gonna ask you like a quick question about, the Brotherhood, and just kind of give me what comes to your head. One word you would use to describe the Brotherhood. If you could give me one word to describe it, what it means to you, what would be that word?
I'd say loyalty.
Brotherhood.
Honor.
That's great. That's three great answers there. Wow. And that was not practice, guys. That was legit. That was amazing. Um, Most meaningful moment from a deployment, something that might stand out to you, or something that maybe hook, line, and sinked you, but meaningful moment.
I,
I, oh,
oh, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Doug.
Go ahead, Doug. Go ahead, Doug.
Mine was it was Missouri, and speaking with a mother, um, just probably spent like 20 minutes with her, so it was like very meaningful,
Yeah.
and talking about her son, so that was something that I felt personally.
Yeah, for me, it's gonna sound like a broken record. I'll never forget walking in that church in that California Highway Patrol. I don't know his name. I don't know what he looks like. Saying, "Boston's here," and I looked over and I said, "Yeah, Boston's here," and that stuck with me forever.
Yeah, mine was definitely when we was in the line for the fallen deputy in Texas, and shaking hands, saying sorry for your loss to all the family members, and then I got to one of his brothers, and I shook his hand. He was sitting down, and I was standing over him. I shook his hand, and he pulled my hand into him, and to read my patch, and he saw Boston police, and he like lost his mind, like he couldn't believe that. Well, he actually said, "You came from Boston?" I was like, "We came from Boston, sir," and he like broke down. It was like unbelievable. I almost broke down, and that I'll never forget that. And that's when I knew that I was going to be in this organization for a long time.
Yeah, I mean that emotional aspect of it is just, I can't imagine. I'm very soft about things, so I can't imagine watching somebody go through something and they're so hurt and in so much pain, and you're there and you have that level of professionalism that you also have to maintain, but inside it's also probably difficult for you to see it time after time as well, and understanding it. What is this? What being a part of this organization means to you personally? What is being meaning? What is this meaning for you personally, as far as being a part of the Brotherhood?
For me, I just like helping people, and just when I first met Pat, I knew because I'm good at reading people,
Hmm.
and I knew that he was sincere about what he was doing with the organization, and then when I got deployed and all that stuff, I knew that, like as I said just a few minutes ago, that this was like a legit, real organization that was really doing legit, real stuff for fallen officers. So I'll never leave the Brotherhood of the Fallen. Even when I retire, I'll still be part of this organization.
Yeah, and Ducky and Doug, they got a lot more years than I have on the job. Not to call them old, but at the end of the day, we're all cops, and you never know. I mean, you don't want it to be anyone you know. You don't want it to be anyone, but it could be you going to that 911 call one day. So that's why I'm involved, and that's why I'm going to stay involved until they kick me out.
Yeah, I mean it's cool, and to see the passion and love for it. I mean, we cover the sports world a little bit, and we cover the love and passion for that. This is a whole different world, and to see how motivated you are, not just for yourselves in this, but how you guys affect such a bigger picture of people you've never met, and these moments that stand out to you guys as far as how this goes. The last thing I want to talk about here with you guys is obviously the gala. An amazing event last year. I mentioned to you guys hosting or being the MC for the event was absolutely amazing. But the second annual gala is this Saturday, November 15th, the Hyatt Regency, Boston, Cambridge. Super awesome location, a very nice spot. And I think everything, doors open at 6 o'clock, getting some drinks and so on, and then all the festivities kick off at 7 o'clock. But such a cool event. If you guys for a minute could just talk about So now having like seeing how much the Brotherhood has grown now to the point they're having annual galas that pack the house. I mean, absolutely sell out and from one end to the other in giant rooms. It was an amazing sight last year.
It's if the transition, if you can see, if you could go back right from the beginning, one of the like we do fundraisers as a to way to gain money, and one of the we sell shirts and t-shirts and things like that at events. The first to show the transition, how far we've come, as you said, the very first event I did was with one of the other board members and a member, and it was at Suffolk Downs. It was a motorcycle run. We had a table that we actually borrowed from somebody at the event. No markings, no nothings. We now have a van, we have a trailer, we have never any event, we have all types of signage and everything like that. And we went from that little table to I think there was a fight in front of us with the Outlaws, and it's craziness to selling two T-shirts to now we're selling out big venues, and it's again it's the board's hard work, Pat's hard work, and it's really to see that transition from there to there is really special, to me, anyways.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I'm so excited to be a part of it. And when Pat ever asked me to come back to MC, I was like, yes. Like, I don't even think he like finished asking me, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing. So we're looking to put together a fun video, and I want to thank you guys so much. I know, like I mentioned to you, and my brother's a cop in Everett, and I know again, God forbid anything ever happened, to know that there is such a brotherhood behind him and behind the family. I think that stuff is absolutely amazing, and what you guys do on a daily basis and people don't realize, like you said, you're the first people that people call, and it's usually never for a good thing. So you're always showing up to something. You never know what's there or what's being expected or what's going to happen. So, for that, I give you guys an insane amount of credit for what you do day after day. And obviously what you do here and how you further that. So I thank you guys for being you. I really do.
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate you inviting me on to this podcast.
My first podcast. Thank you, Anthony.
I
I
think it's
appreciate
my
being on
first
it.
podcast too.
Yeah,
So
there
yeah,
we go. There we go. We like I said, we cover a lot of like high school, college sports, but we do have episodes that are like very near and dear, like people kind of outside that world a little bit that, we connect with or that we love being a part of in different organizations. So I was excited for this. I really was, and I'm glad we made it work. And yeah, it will be cool to kind of see some of this stuff clip in on Saturday a little bit. So
definitely. Yeah.
it'll be really fun. But I want to thank you guys for coming on here today. And those that are listening, again, check out our social medias. We're going to be flipping this pretty quickly and dropping it with a trailer. But thank these guys for coming on and what they do, the Brotherhood for the Fallen. The second annual gala will be a part of it. It'll be on our social, so check that out. Thank you guys so much. From Beyond Podcast, till next time.